Do you think AI is going to get rid of real estate agents, or how is it going to massively disrupt the industry? Because anyone thinks AI is not going to disrupt their industry in some way is Looney Tunes. It's going to disrupt somehow or some way. What is your vision for what AI is going to do to the real estate profession?
You asked the question, do I think it's going to get rid of real estate agents? I don't know. I'm not saying it's not possible. It could very well be possible. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that is going to happen yet. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if it is, it's a possibility. I haven't seen how that's going to happen yet, because I still think it's a relationship business where people want to.
I just saw a video in Russia, actually, where they're testing out an AI avatar selling tickets to a movie theater.
Yeah.
Little 10-year-old kid goes up to this AI, oh, what movie would you like to see? And the ticket just prints out, and it's like that face-to-face. It looks photorealistic, doesn't even look like, but it's obviously behind a screen thing.
I think it can definitely replace some aspects of real estate currently, and maybe more in the future. And because you're already seeing that, even just like with so many different aspects. I'm using AI in my business and personal life, mostly through ChatGPT. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I use it for everything. Like,
how many hours a day are you playing in ChatGPT? And playing's a weird word, but like how many hours?
You say hours, I'll say how many times do I go on there during the course of the day to like ask questions? Yeah. I don't use Google anymore, put it that way.
Yeah, of course.
I literally just use that. I would say 10, 15 times a day I'm asking questions or having it do things for me.
All right, so today on the New How podcast, we have Noah Ostroff, is a man on a mission to help people live their lives through real estate. As the founder and CEO of Center City Development, Noah has built over 550 units and developed more than $350 million in real estate across Philadelphia. His team specializes in development, construction, sales, and rentals of some of Philly's premier luxury residences, including Innovator Village, Lombard Estates, Rittenhouse Estates, Walnut Estates, Estates on 3rd, Millennium Village, Garden Square, just a few you might have heard of. Noah's work with Center City Development laid the foundation for an even broader vision. He simultaneously founded Global Living, which houses brands such as Philly Living, Jersey Living, and Florida Living. Global Living has grown into one of the top performing real estate teams in the country, with over $1.5 billion in closed sales and more than 4,000 homes sold. In 2017, Global Living acquired Philadelphia Apartment Company, the city's largest residential brokerage, and in 2020 added one of Philadelphia's largest management firms, now rebranded Philly Living Management Group, which manages more than 3,000 units. Noah has also expanded into New Jersey with Jersey Living and Florida with Florida Living. Previously, Noah served as the founding and operating partner of KW Philly from 2016 to 2022, now called KW Empower, which has over 1,100 real estate agents. In 2021, Noah acquired 6 brokerages in the Tampa Bay area, totaling $3 billion in annual sales and $83 million in annual revenue. His mission is far from finished. He's just getting started, and with plans to scale his companies to over 1,000 employees, Noah is driven by one goal, which is helping people achieve their dream lifestyle through real estate. Noah, welcome to the show.
That sounds pretty good.
That's it. We're done. We don't even need to continue this. What else are we talking about?
I like that. Is that me? Wow.
It's wild, right?
It's pretty good.
So Noah, how long have you been in real estate? Like with a water pistol to your head, like how many years now?
I hate to say this, but it's been about 22 years now.
Holy shit.
22 years. I don't even feel that old. I don't feel that much older than that.
So 22 years ago, take me back. Like, where are you at in life, and like what led you to real estate?
So I look at myself as an opportunistic person. I have a kind of, my superpower is finding opportunity when other people may not see the opportunity. So when I was getting out of college, real estate was the industry to be in. And this was in 2003. I was getting out of college.
Great year to be in real estate.
Good year to be in real estate. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to do something in business. I've always been like a business guy, even just kind of going back to when I was younger, starting businesses and stuff like that. And so I decided to go work in real estate. So I worked for a company called Toll Brothers. They're a national home builder. So I got trained in their project management department. And then I got put on a project down in Florida where I was overseeing a community of like 300 and some homes, and kind of learned about acquisitions and learned about construction and sales and everything that there is in a big project like that. I then went on to work for a company called Centex Homes, similar position, but I was more of like a GC, general contractor, superintendent. I was the one, scheduling the subs. I was the one checking quality.
You were building from the beginning. You were building the actual structures, whatever.
Correct. For these bigger companies. Yep. And I was building a lot at a time. At one point I had 80 homes that I was building for these companies. So these were big companies, big subdivisions. That's where I really learned how to build houses and check quality and stuff like that. Then we started having kids in 2006 and moved back to Philly to be closer to family, and had another business in between 2006 and 2008, non-real estate related. In 2008, I decided to become a real estate agent.
In 2008, you're like, the world's going to end and I'm going to become a real estate agent?
Yeah. You know what? I didn't know at the time. Nobody was like...
This was early. This must have been like January 08.
This was June of 08. And when I got in the business, everyone was like, what are you doing? Why are you getting in the business? But I had a great training program with the company that I was with at the time. And they taught me from the beginning how to be a good salesperson, how to be a good business person, the things you need to do every day for lead generation, for organization, for business development. And to me, that was what everybody in the business was doing. Little did I know that's not what everyone was doing. Only the most successful people were doing those things. But I just thought that's what you had to do to be successful. And my first year in real estate, I sold 50 homes. And I was like, well, if this is a bad market, I can't wait for a good market to come around. And I sort of carry those principles even to this day. And that's what I try to teach other people is like, just stay with the fundamentals, lead generate, business development every day, no matter what business you're in, whether it's sales, whether it's real estate or anything, you need to be doing business development and lead generating every single day in your business. Because nobody ever went out of business from having too many leads. Correct. Right. So that's what I tell people. That's all you need to do every day until you have too many, and then hire other people to help you with those.
What are some techniques you use to get leads? Like like you're generating leads. How do you go about that? For someone that's never gone to a networking event or never even, did their first client job, like how do you generate leads? Like what do you go about doing?
Well, you want to know now or back when I started?
Give me the raw, like what you were doing back then.
So back then my nickname was the Shameless Promoter because I was literally promoting everything. I would go, and this is, before all the technology we have now.
A QR code on your back and scan. Oh, that's Noah.
I literally did everything. I was the guy that walked into the interview to go work at a real estate company with a PowerPoint business plan of like what I'm going to do, and they're like, "Who is this guy?" We'll hire anybody pretty much. So back then I was putting business cards on the boards in coffee shops. I was doing open houses. I did a lot of Craigslist stuff. I made a lot of phone calls. I called for sale by owners. I called expired listings, people that were trying to list their homes by themselves without a real estate agent.
Like Craigslist, were you like people like, oh, come pick up my free couch? You would go there and be like, oh, you must be selling your house? No, be the listing?
No. So like Craigslist things, I would put ads to say there's currently 10 new construction homes in Philadelphia. Contact me for more information on those. So
but that was that was before anyone was doing it, right? Right. That was early days.
People weren't doing that stuff. And then in 2009, that was the birth of Philly Living. So back then, so now everybody has real estate properties on their websites. Every single real estate agent, every Zillow, but back then nobody had that.
I remember that.
So
people were just trying, I think I need a website for my project, or I think, how do I get it out there? Because before it was you went on what? The MLS or you saw it in a newspaper?
Well, no, I was after that time, but back then it was MLS was pretty much the only place. Zillow wasn't big, Trulia wasn't big. There was maybe 2 or 3 real estate websites in the city where they had IDX feeds that you could go and see properties. And so Philly Living existed before I bought it. It was by somebody, like a technology guy had it, was generating a ton of leads, sort of did some real estate stuff, but not really. I recognized the opportunity and I approached him and asked him if I can buy it off of him. And so we worked out a deal and I bought the domain phillyliving.com. It was generating about 1,000 visits a day. This was back in 2008 or 9.
So that's where people were. I remember that was like where you went for a long time was Philly Living. You went there to see the real estate in the city.
Every real estate related keyword that you could search for, we came up number 1 naturally through SEO. And no paid advertising, no forced registration. It was just came up as number 1. I was getting about 250 to 300 leads a month from that website without paying a penny for it, just because of the SEO. So I rode that wave for a while, obviously, and sort of helped build the business off of that. But then Google changed their algorithm a couple times, and then you had to start paying for SEO and SEM, and it just became way too expensive. There were some points that I was paying $50,000 or $100,000 a month for that type of stuff just to maintain number one,
just to stay up there SEO wise and search wise.
Yeah. Then later on, I was like, well, if there's the top 10 back then, there was like before you could scroll, there was 10 positions on each page. Yep. And then you had to click next to go to the next 10. So I figured, well, if I'm one of 10, I have 10% of the market share. Yep. Well, if I had 2 of 10 or 3 of 10, then I had more than that. So I went out and bought PhiladelphiaRealEstate.com. I bought PhillyRealEstate.com. So then I owned multiple positions in the top 10. So I had more leads coming in from all that stuff.
That's great.
So those are just some examples of things that I did back then. I did a lot more things, but those are just some examples.
No, that's all. So at a minimum, right? If I'm someone new trying to get into real estate, just put yourself out there in some way or another.
Put yourself out there. Real estate is about relationships. Yep. People will work with you because of a relationship that you're in. Your job is to get into relationship with them before the point of transaction, to get into the relationship before they're thinking about buying or selling, so that they want to work with you and they trust you. Yep. But put yourself out there, and that's what's gonna make that happen.
That's awesome. When was the so talk about the team a little bit at that time. So 2009, right? You're doing these things. Like what did your team structure look like in the beginning? Like who did you have as your right-hand person, or talk about that a little bit?
So back then it was just me at first. I was the one doing everything.
I was fielding all the leads.
At first I was fielding the leads. I was running to the printer to print stuff. I was doing paperwork, putting stuff on the MLS. I literally was doing all the marketing. Everything was myself. We used to have to get paperwork signed by hand back then. I'd be running, getting paperwork signed, contracts. And then I had a lot of leads, and I couldn't handle those leads. So those leads were basically going into thin air. I said, I need somebody that can come work with me. So I hired an agent, buyer's agent, to come work and take some of those leads with me. And what I looked for was somebody that the previous years before that did a lot of business, but as the market got worse, their business got worse because that told me they were good at working with clients, but not good at generating leads. So I had the leads. I just needed somebody that was good at working with the clients. So I brought on one person, then I brought on a second person, and I was able to filter those leads to them. Because even if I was getting, let's say, only 50% of the money from those, that's better than zero, because I couldn't handle all of those. Then at that point, my manager was telling me, you need to hire an assistant, like that's what you really need.
Is this like a coach or?
The manager of the brokerage.
Oh, the brokerage, yeah.
Who was like a mentor to me when I was a newer agent. And they said, you need to hire an assistant, somebody to do paperwork and stuff, because if I'm doing the administrative work, then I'm the admin. Like I need to be focusing on the $100 an hour work or whatever, and I need to be leveraging and hiring for the $15 an hour work, that was back then what we paid.
I wish we could pay $15.
You can't pay that anymore. Yeah. I think about what I used to pay administrative people back then, and like now it's double pretty much. It's pretty much double. So I grew an administrative team, and then once we got so busy with my one person who did marketing and operations, I went to her one day and I said, hey, we're too busy right now. We need somebody that's going to do marketing and somebody that's going to do operations. Which do you like better? And she said, I like doing operations better. I said, great, I'm going to go hire a marketing person. So then I hired a marketing person, and then we got too busy with marketing. I said, we need to hire a second marketing person and a third marketing person and a second and third and fourth and you grow and scale the business as you
wake up, and now how many employees are you at 2-3 years later?
Between all the companies, there's a lot, over 100 probably. And if you're counting real estate agents, there's about 2,500 of real estate agents.
So you have so obviously the team was at almost 100 people supporting a team of 2,500 agents, or?
Well, it depends. I have my sales team, which is Philly living, Jersey living, Florida living. Then we have the brokerages, which is different kind of separate staff, separate people. So that like all the companies sort of run separately, separate staffs at all the different companies. There's some crossover. There's some people that are called, like we'll say on like the executive team, if you will. That's sort of help out on everything's like financial side and sometimes on the marketing side of things. But just like any business, you if you're growing the front end, this is one thing that I learned along the way. Somebody like me that's focused on growth is focus on growth and sales and growing the businesses and growing whatever the business is, I'm not as much paying attention to the operational side of things and growing the back end. And that was a mistake I made early on, because when you grow your front end, your sales and your business, and you're not paying attention to the back end, then the front end suffers because they're not getting the services that they want.
I feel like every entrepreneur at some point gets there.
And the back end suffers because your people are overworked. They have too much stuff they're dealing with.
That's the scaling challenge. And like I experienced that personally at like 15 to 20 employees.
Right.
We had so much work we didn't know what to do with it all. And then like things slip, you lose a client, you mess something up. You're like, shit, I wish I got a second chance at that. But like, if you don't have your SOP, your standard operating procedures and stuff in place, like, you're going to lose. And look, you need those losses too to just get better and to realize why they're so important. But every entrepreneur at a certain point gets to that.
Yeah. And you need to know what you're good at so that you can hire someone else to handle that type of stuff.
Yep.
I'm kind of rare because I can be good at both. I don't love the operational side of things, but I can do that too.
Of course.
I gravitate towards the growth side of things. So for me, I need somebody that's going to be like a rock star on the operational side of things that can just deal with all the stuff that I'm throwing every single day.
Talk about, so growth wise, when did you get to the point where you're like, all right, Philly's great, but like Florida, New Jersey, like how does that become a reality? And when did you feel comfortable enough to scale out of what you knew?
We made a run at this expansion back in 2016. And we grew teams, real estate sales teams in all over Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Florida. We had a few teams in Miami and other places in Florida, Columbus, Ohio. We went to the UK. We had 13 teams that we grew within a 1 year period because we put it out there. Hey, we're growing, we're expanding. If you want to come work with us, come contact us. And we attracted people. And so people came to us.
And was this under the KW brand fully? Like you had just multiple KW teams that you were running?
Yes.
Okay.
KW was sort of like our distribution center.
Correct.
And we would just pop into the KW offices and form teams. So we didn't have to go out and sign leases. We didn't have to, get copy machine and pay for coffee and toilet paper and all that stuff. We just, used Keller Williams offices as our distribution centers and just put sales teams within those offices. So we grew very fast. Back then, we added 70 or 80 people to the company within a year, and our expenses went through the roof. And that's the thing, when you're growing and you're selling a lot of stuff, you're not paying as much attention to the expenses. And then at some point it was not fun for us because we had to sell a certain amount of houses just to sort of break even. We're like, we should be excited that we're selling this many houses, not
the
like
first 30 are worthless.
Right, exactly.
It just keeps the lights on.
So we're like, this is not fun. So it was a 2-year process of cutting expenses. We cut expenses from literally, it was like $250,000 a month down to like $50,000 a month.
Yeah, it's great.
And we had to, it was like, oh, we found $15 here. Let's cut that. We don't need that because you're not paying attention to this stuff. As you're growing a business, you don't pay attention to the little expenses. That happens personally too. I mean, how many subscriptions do we have that we probably don't even realize we have that are on auto renewal?
Yeah, it's you ask any entrepreneur, you go back, solve a challenge of a business, and you say, hey, cut expenses to your P&L statement. It's one of the most challenging things to do in business.
I was seeing all these people selling all these houses and doing all, but they weren't making any money. I'm like, well, what's the point of doing all this if you're not going to be as profitable as you want to be? So that we started focusing more on that and less on the ego stuff and more on the bottom line stuff and cutting expenses and focusing on efficiencies. And we cut a lot of locations back then. So we're really new into making another run at this again. So in 2021, I had an opportunity to buy 6 large brokerages in the Tampa Bay area. I had grown KW Philly from the ground up. Then it was doing very well. So people sort of looked at me around the country and said like, all right, he knows how to run brokerages. One person decided to sell all his. I'm like, well, I don't know anything about Tampa Bay, but I know about brokerages. I'll explore the opportunity. And after exploring it, it was a good opportunity. I decided to do it.
Do you go down to Tampa often? You still are involved down there?
I'm still involved down there. I don't go down there super often because I have great leaders down there that run the different brokerages, and I don't want to get in the way of that. I'm down there more when the weather's cold in Philly.
What's interesting, I recently discovered Tampa too, and I have I had a family member move to Tampa. I was just down in Tampa last month, and I had a good friend of mine that moved south of Tampa. And what's wild down in that marketplace, not just necessarily center of Tampa, but like the outskirts of Tampa, where they're building massive communities, like not 100 homes, thousands of homes. And I'm just like, and not only the thousands of homes, they have homes starting at $300,000 up to $3 million in blocks of like hundreds. Like I've never seen anything like it. And and they're filling, they're selling, they're moving.
Why not? No income tax, beautiful weather most of the year. It's really nice down there. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tampa itself gives me, there's some grit vibes to it that I like, that I relate to Philly with, right? Like, not to say you feel like you're on an episode of Cops in some areas, but like you do, right? Like there's that, but then there's also like they have the whole waterfront district, like where all those condos are over facing the bay right there. Like it's nice. It's fun and it's great. And I always said, if I'm going to go to Florida or move, like I want that grit feel. And I get that in Tampa. You do feel that.
You don't get it as much on the East Coast from what I see. And that's where I spent a lot of my time growing up when I went to Florida. I just discovered Tampa. I love St. Pete. Mm-hmm. St. Pete's amazing.
So I took a tour down. One of my mentors spends some time down in West Palm. So I flew into West Palm. I saw him. So I'm on the east side to start. I'm like, Jesus, this is beautiful over here. And then I went and saw my buddy. I drove across south of Tampa. Right. Like, Jesus, you drive that across like cattle country. You don't realize it, but there's cattle country in Florida. You drive through that. You get to like South Tampa. You're like, what is this? What is this Narnia zone with all these new houses? Then I went up to Tampa, and then I ended in Orlando. Right. But like I got to see a little piece of it. But like Tampa was just, that marketplace is interesting.
More down to earth. The trees are a little more mature. The houses don't all look the same.
Yeah, and that's true. They're all a little different.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a lot of renovation opportunity down there to elevate or go above second floor stuff. But
so I went down there in 2021 and still have those businesses. And now over the last couple of years, that's on the brokerage side of things. On the real estate sales team side, different business, we're now expanded with a sales team down in that area as well. Yep. And in New Jersey, a few different places in New Jersey. We're down the shore. Mm-hmm. We're in.
What shore points in Jersey are you operating in?
We are in Margate, in Ocean City, and that's like mainly an LBI. Yep. And those are the shore points, and then we have like a Cherry Hill area, Marlton area team.
Nice. And so you have offices too for them, or are they?
We have teams within an office, yes, correct. Within a Keller Williams office.
Great.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of being an entrepreneur right now?
My favorite part about being an entrepreneur is just opportunity to start new things and create new things. That's kind of one of the exciting things for me about developing properties and building houses, because every new project is essentially a new business for me that I have to figure out and start from scratch. I like the part about making the deal work. Yep. That's the part that I like, is like, all right, I recognize an opportunity, whether it's buying a business or building a property, and I'm like, ooh, this is a good opportunity. Maybe let's just talk about a property. This is a good opportunity, maybe because of the location, maybe because of the size of the property or what I can build there. Yeah. And then I'm like, all right, well, what can I build here? How much is this going to cost to build? What can I buy it for? Like, can I do something cool here? And like making the numbers work, that part is exciting to me. And then getting it to like something that can be created. I like creating things, I guess.
Let's dive into the secret sauce a little bit, or secret juice. Like, what juice do I got to be drinking and to be operating like Noah? And what I mean by that is like, what does it look like when you wake up in the morning? Talk about like, how do you stay fit? How do you stay mentally all there to kind of deal with what you deal with like, you got brokerages everywhere, you got development opportunities, you're opportunistic. Like, what are you doing daily that other people should? Like, are we eating special like microgreens? Like, talk to me. Like, what are we doing?
I surround myself with talented people. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing, is to be able to do all the things I do. I have to have good partners and good people that can do all the things that either I'm not good at, that I can't do, or that I don't want to do. Yep. And those are really important. Like, you can't do everything yourself. But I'm very regimented and routine, and I really just focus on like high level stuff. I try not to get caught up in the weeds too much. So like a typical day for me, I wake up in the morning in the 6 o'clock hour, 6:15, something like that.
You're not a 5 a.m.er because
I'm not a 5
All right,
a.m.er.
that's good.
Sleep is really
Never
important to
mind.
me. I'm like between 6:15, 6:30, depending on what specifically I'm doing workout wise that day. But I work out every day, pretty much like 6 days a week. I work out. These days I train for races. I do high rocks races and Spartan races and like obstacle, like those types of things. So, my workout routine is like different maybe now than it is other times, but 2 or 3 days a week I'll run, and 2 or 3 days a week I'll
doing that in the gym. Or you outside? Like
now I'm outside. Like this morning, yesterday I ran outside because it's beautiful outside. But even if it's 30 degrees, I'll run outside also, just dress differently. But every morning I work out because I need that just like mentally to do that. And I feel...
While you're working out, what are you listening to?
I used to listen to podcasts, not like books, like audiobooks. I used to, but I was just I found myself lately consuming so much information over the course of the day between, like I was reading 3 or 4 books a month or listening to 3 or 4 books a month and a podcast and watching, TV. And then I was just consuming so much information. It became too much for me. So now I listen to music.
Yeah.
I listen to music. And if I'm lifting weights, I'll listen to like pump up rock music. And if I'm running or whatever, I'm listening to like club music.
All right, no, that's good. It's just, it's all the details. I'm telling you, it all adds up. All right. So you wake up, you work out, you get your rhythm, you come back, you shower, what are you eating for breakfast?
I don't eat breakfast. I come back, I watch like 10, 15 minutes of the Today Show.
All right.
I have my coffee and my, the vitamins and whatever it is that I take.
Yep.
I go shower. And I don't eat breakfast in the morning. I don't eat my first meal until like lunchtime.
Okay.
And then I shower, and I'm usually like starting my work day at like 9:30.
Okay.
So like I used to start early, but now I have a good morning routine.
Yep.
So like I'm not working till 9:30.
Yep.
Not to say I don't check email and stuff first thing.
Now with the energy, because everyone will say you work, like I don't work out 6 days a week. I yearn to something. Like I'm 2-3 days a week max right now. And I'm like probably amateur. You probably laugh at me. Like I'm like the kid that didn't play football. Right? Like I learned how to work out after college. Right? You must get a level of energy from that. That's just like how long can you now go in the day because of that energy you got in the morning?
I usually don't get tired anymore. Actually, if I don't work out, I find myself to be more irritable during the day.
Okay.
And I find myself to be lower energy during the day. It actually gives me energy.
Yeah.
And the reason I work out like 6 days a week, usually 6, but let's say 5 or 6 days a week, is because when I used to work out 3 days a week or 4 days a week, it's hard for me to I need to stay in a rhythm. I'm like a very regimented person with like, if I get out of my eating rhythm, it's hard for me to get back. If I get out of my workout rhythm, it's hard for me to get back. So when I'm in a good rhythm with like eating, if I'm in a good rhythm for working out, you build habits around that stuff so that you can, so I don't get off of that. Cause I know if I take a day off or if one day my alarm goes off and I'm like, I'm tired, then like that gives me permission another day to do the same thing. I don't ever give myself the thing to do that. But in order to prepare for that every morning, now it's a habit, right? But let's say before it was, the thing I do is, it happens the night before. Every night I put my clothes out, my workout clothes the night before. I set my alarm. I go to bed at a reasonable time. So I go to bed if I'm waking up at 6:15, I'm going to bed at 10.
Okay.
10:15, 10:30, somewhere I try to get 8 hours of sleep.
You don't want, you're.
I try not to veer from that, and it's bed.
All right, now talk about you're getting in bed. Are you on your phone? Are you reading? Talk about that rhythm, because that's where I struggle the most.
Yep.
I'm like, oh shit, I'm in bed. It's 10:30. Wow.
No,
and then
I have a rhythm.
I'm lights out at midnight or 12:30. I can't seem to.
No, I have a rhythm with that. So I'll go up to so I'll have dinner at, if I have with the kids, 6:30, 7 o'clock, something like that. I'm done dinner by, let's say 7:30-ish. Sometimes earlier, but let's say 7:30 and clean up. I'm watching TV. Yeah. I watch a lot of TV. Yeah. People say, how do you watch that much? I literally have seen every show.
What are you watching on TV right now?
It depends on when. I binge stuff right now. Right now I'm watching old shows that I never saw in the past.
Like Breaking Bad, you've seen Breaking Bad.
I watched Breaking Bad for the first time 3 months ago.
That's wild.
I binged it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know. But now I'm going, like I've watched so much, I just go back to old stuff now and watch old stuff. But I never saw it originally, so.
Entourage, another good one if you haven't seen that.
I have seen that one.
Entourage.
That one I saw.
Yeah.
So you know, I'm watching TV and I try to go upstairs to my bedroom around 9 o'clock and kind of get in my rhythm, brush my teeth and stuff, and then lay in the bed and watch TV for an hour and then go to bed. That's
You're a
it.
big TV guy that is able to operate at a high level.
I know. People are like, how do you have time for TV? I'm like, I don't know. How do you not have time for TV? It's like part of my day. I love it.
It probably resets you mentally. Like I still game a little bit. One of my things, I used to play video games professionally growing up, which is wild. It was before it was a cool thing to do, but sometimes I'll game for an hour here to like mentally reset me.
Yeah.
In the summer, it's trying to be out on the water as much as possible. But like in the winter months, it's like, what can I do to kind of, but for me, it sounds like TV could be that for you, where like it just takes you out of your zone and allows you to just totally reset your mind.
Work-life balance is a really important thing for me. And I learned this like very early on in my career. When I first started out, I had young kids. I had a baby when I first started out. And my goal was to be home for dinner every single night and to not work on the weekends because I wanted to spend time with my kids. Yep. And if most real estate agents can't do that. Correct. They don't have
Saturdays and Sundays are
all the time,
start of the week,
right? And after the first year I did that, but after the first year, I had a pretty normal, like, call it 9 to 5 schedule. I mean, it was 8 o'clock I was in the office, 5 or 6 o'clock I was coming home. I rarely worked on the weekends, and people are like, you're not going to be able to do this in this business and not work on the weekends. And I did, because I focused on listings and, when I was working and letting people know what my hours were and letting people know the value of my time and when I was available. So I created a pretty normal schedule for myself early on because work-life balance was a really important thing for me. And, having time to do the fun things that I like to do when I'm not working. And I still carry that on to today. So when I'm home, of course I'm checking my email all the time, but I'm not I try not to be working if I can. I try to take time off.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit because I want to dive into AI a little bit and technology. I want to know your opinion on, I'm going to ask a question. Do you think AI is going to get rid of real estate agents or how is it going to massively disrupt the industry? Because anyone thinks AI is not going to disrupt their industry in some way is Looney Tunes. It's going to disrupt somehow or some way. What is your vision for what AI is going to do to the real estate profession? You
asked the question, do I think it's going to get rid of real estate agents? I don't know. I'm not saying it's not possible. It could very well be possible. I don't know how that is going to happen yet. Okay. So if it is, it's a possibility. I haven't seen how that's going to happen yet, because I still think it's a relationship business where people want to.
I just saw a video in Russia, actually, where they're testing out an AI avatar selling tickets to a movie theater.
Yeah.
Little 10-year-old kid goes up to this AI, oh, what movie would you like to see? And the ticket just prints out, and it's like that face-to-face. It looks photorealistic. Doesn't even look like, but it's obviously behind a screen thing.
Yeah. I think it can definitely replace some aspects of real estate currently and maybe more in the future. And because you're already seeing that, even just like with so many different aspects. I'm using AI in my business and personal life, mostly through ChatGPT. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I use it for everything. Like,
how many hours a day are you playing in ChatGPT? And playing is a weird word, but like how many hours?
You say hours, I'll say how many times do I go on there during the course of the day to like ask questions? Yeah. I don't use Google anymore, put it that way.
Yeah, of course.
I literally just use that. I would say 10, 15 times a day, I'm asking questions or having it do things for me. Like, I'm really big in Excel. I love Excel. I think I'm like an expert at Excel, but now I'm like a whole other level with ChatGPT, because now I'm like, you look at this tab and create a formula on this sheet and do this thing, and then boom, it creates the formulas, and I'm doing some cool things now with it. And automating a lot of like my tracking stuff through Excel.
And tracking what, properties or listings, or talk about some of that.
Depends on what it is. Like, I have a big project that I'm listing for sale that you did the architecture on, called Winfield Heights Square. It's 170 homes, and it's a big project. It requires a lot of tracking. So it's just all the tracking of all the buyers and all the selections and what's available and what's not available and how many homes we've put under contract each month and how many have settled each month and last 7 days report and what lenders are on the project, like it's just a track for everything.
Building that out, and as you update it, adjusting the data.
I've built it out with formulas that I asked ChatGPT to create for me. So now it's all automatically done.
To build you like an Excel spreadsheet or a dashboard to
I built the Excel spreadsheet, and then I asked ChatGPT to write the formulas for me of how I needed it to go.
Are you, let me ask you a question. So again, for the listeners out there, I will tell you, and I say this again, I've said it on other episodes, I don't think ChatGPT is going to replace you. Someone utilizing ChatGPT is going to replace you.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen.
Correct.
And I say that to even to my staff. They're like, what, innovation, what we're doing this year. Guys, like, let's figure out how to do 100 renderings in a time it took us to do 10 renderings. Right? Like, or, how do we review a set of drawings utilizing AI and scraping for code across the plans and elevations and sections? Like, you got to change it up, right? Because you still need the architect, you still need the agent, but it's like, how can you now, one agent, 170 homes, do that by yourself with a light team?
I could ask you that same question. Do you think that AI is going to replace architecture? Like I go on ChatGPT sometimes and say, create me a project of 10 homes that looks like this. And within 2 seconds, it's like, nice.
Absolutely. And look, fortunately, architects have a professional degree that you still need that sign and seal. But look, there's one man and one woman bands out there that'll stamp something morally not the right way. But look, I tell my staff that all the time, like, you need to be utilizing AI to get things to speed up the process, because what do clients care about? They care about time, money, and quality, right? And if you can say, oh, you only get 2 of those, that's bullshit. You should be able to get all 3 of those utilizing AI. And that's where we're trying to take it, right? Increasing that customer experience, increasing the quality, and reducing time and money for clients. Well, if you can do that with AI, it's...
Like you said, it's not going to replace you, but the person that knows how to use it is going to, you're going to be more efficient.
I'm going to ask you this. When you prompt AI, are you telling it like, I am a director of real estate assets, or like, do you ever put in like I'll give you an example. I was for this show today, right? Like, you sent me your bio, I scrape AI, but I said, act as a podcast production lead. Here's Noah, here's what he knows about him. Search the web, find everything, make sure I have the right questions to ask him on his journey.
Yep, I do stuff like that. I'll say, hey, ChatGPT, you're my new marketing manager.
Correct.
I want you to create a whole social media campaign with hashtags and a video text of what I should say. Like, literally, I just tell it to create
Side note,
content.
I told my internal marketing woman, Nina, I was like, those little emojis that ChatGPT does, just fucking get rid of them. Because people, if you see those, you're like, that's bullshit. I don't want to read it.
Or the little bullet points, the dot, it's a bullet point.
Like, you have to clean up, but you can also ask ChatGPT to export it in a certain format too, which changes the game a little bit.
That's a good point.
So like, the first prompt is who you need ChatGPT to be, what you need them to do, what format you want them to bring it out in. And then the fourth one is like, how often, and you could ask them to like, you can set ChatGPT up to like, do it and automate it for multiple times. Like, every day I want it to scrape this data source and provide it in this format.
That would be good. Yeah.
So there's the 4 things when you prompt it. I mean, I use it every day too.
I tell you put your grocery list in your notes section, throughout the week. And then I take it and I say, ChatGPT, organize my grocery list by aisle in the grocery store. And that's so I could just be efficient when I do that.
One of the things, if you haven't done it yet, if you have, do you have other people on your team using ChatGPT?
Probably. We don't like necessarily talk about it, but yeah.
So what I would recommend heavily, there's a couple things that you just have to be careful with, and I'll just give the listeners. So ChatGPT, if you go into settings, there's a thing that allows what the stuff you're inputting to influence the overall model of like the world, right? So if you're in there talking about other employees, maybe it's HR issues, and you're asking it to identify things, I can potentially go in my own ChatGPT and ask about that individual person and see what comes out of it. So there's a setting under ChatGPT that you have to turn off. Now, what we have to do, because some of the clients our team works with, like Pico, large customers, right? Like, we actually have anyone that's using ChatGPT in my office has to be under the team plan, so we can control where the data is going externally back into the system. It's just something to be mindful of.
Smart,
It's not make or break, but that data that you're inputting is being used later.
Interesting.
If you haven't, which is even weirder, is that if you're using ChatGPT, you might ask it something, and all of a sudden, it gives you an answer. Like, how the fuck did it know that?
Right, because it stores the memory from what you said previously.
Or it's grabbing, now it connects to Google and things. So like, you're like, how the fuck does it know that about me? How does it know? I honestly, I just had a daughter 3 weeks ago, right? And it was like, oh, and baby Hannah. I'm like, how the fuck did it know my daughter's name is Hannah?
Wow.
I'm like, this is crazy.
That is crazy.
So just be careful. Just data you're inputting.
I use it for everything. I'll sometimes have therapy sessions with it. I'm like, I'm stressed out about such and such thing today, and then we have a whole back and forth. It's great.
As an entrepreneur, I love it from the standpoint of like generating business ideas or generating new businesses or new ventures and things. You want to do a side hustle or, you want to have a new hobby. You're trying to get into, you want to do airplanes, model airplanes. It's like, where should I go to look for this? Who are the influencers I should follow? You can really get tactical to save yourself a lot of time.
Agreed.
So that's all it's for.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So ChatGPT is changing your business. Let's get into like mentorship and growth a little bit. So let's go back. All right, it's back 2008 again. Mm-hmm. You're getting into real estate. What would you be telling yourself that now that you would want to enlighten your younger self, right? Like, what would you want to tell yourself 18 years ago?
It's funny. Every year I get that question all the time from people. I'm a new agent. I'm new to the business. What should I do? And every year I would put out like a top 10, top 20 list of like things I wish I knew back then. Now I teach a class about it. Yeah. I do teach a class about it. It's called Noah's 20 Commandments.
Noah's 20 Commandments.
Noah's 20 Commandments.
Love that.
I say focus on lead generation and business development. Mm-hmm. Have a profit and loss statement right away. There was first couple years in the business, I never had a P&L, and I thought I was making money until I got my first P&L, and I was like, "Wait,
you don't have any money to pay in taxes this year?
Yeah,
what do you mean?"
Yeah, you think you're making more than you do until you realize that you have expenses. Oh, wait, we have to subtract expenses off of the money we make. So a lot of people don't run their businesses like businesses, and I tried. No matter what business you're in, you have to think like a business person. You have to have a profit and loss statement. How much revenue you bring in? What is your cost of sale? What are your expenses? What are your margins? And understand the targets that you're shooting for. And like that's the purpose of a business, is to make money. That'd be one thing. Yep. So you wanted to say something.
No. I mean, you're 100% right. It's not a nonprofit, right?
It's
you need to make money to grow and advance.
Yeah. And we talked about this before. The other thing is like focus on lead generation and business development. Yep. No matter what business that you're in, whether you're a salesperson, your business needs customers to sustain itself. Yep. So that's the one thing that people don't focus enough on. They wait for the business to come to them instead of going out and going out and finding it. You talked about mentorship, but I would recommend getting a coach early on or having a mentor early on. You can work with one-on-one, but also I have a lot of mentors of people that don't even realize they're my mentors. Right. Books I read, people I look up to, podcasts, stuff like that, right?
On the mentorship, one thing I would highly recommend, because I've recently done it, I highly recommend finding a mentor that's not in the industry.
Yeah.
Like I joined something recently called Vistage. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's a global mentor. It's for CEOs, business leaders. But my mentor was in a totally different industry. But like seeing his perspective on like my industry that I'm in, it gives you a different way of thinking about it. So if you have an opportunity, find someone that's doing something totally different, but it has gotten to success in your terms, but maybe done it a little different.
Yeah, figure out how you can translate that back to your business and find people outside of your geographic area too. Yeah. I network and mastermind with people all over the country, and some of them are doing the same thing I'm doing, like business-wise, like career-wise. Mm-hmm. But they're doing it in a different city, and I get ideas from them and I bring them back. And some people are in different industries, and you just take those little bits and pieces and make it your own, and get advice from people and kind of craft the way that you want to do business. Another thing is like try not to get distracted by what all the other people are doing, the shiny objects. Because I would go to these conferences, and I would come back and I'm like, I need to change my entire business model. I need to be doing this and this and this. And you realize like, you don't need to be doing all those things. You don't need to be all things to all people.
My favorite is, cause like we're an architecture firm in the city, right? So I'm like, oh wow, it looks like all these people are fucking busy. Right. Until you go pull the data on it and you look at who's actually pulling permits in the city, what firms are actually doing the work. And you're like,
Yeah.
wow, that firm looks like they're busy, but they've pulled 20 units last year. What the fuck, right? Like it's crazy. So, and you mentioned that before, like data, you looked at data to see. So I would do that for the mentorship too. Like, have these people actually achieved success?
Correct. Just because somebody's up on stage and they have that, like being on stage gives people validity and credibility. You
can pay for that.
That doesn't mean that they are doing the things in life and in business that you want. That's another thing I learned. You see some of these people up on stage or talking, and they have great big businesses, but then I ask, like, well, what about their family life? What about their home life? What about all these other things that are important to me? Do they have those aspects of their life that I want as well? Not just the business thing. You want to find somebody that has the whole package of what you're looking for.
Yeah. Let's chat about what hasn't happened yet with Noah. What's next for you? What, like, what are your ambitions? Like what's the next level look like? If we come back here in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, like have you back on the show, we're episode 423. Yeah. Dylan, put that in the schedule.
423.
Right?
423.
Talk about what is that? What are we talking about then? What have you accomplished, or what are you heading towards accomplishing?
I don't know. I want to do some cool things. I've done a lot of things, and I feel like a lot of the things I do, like that I've done, have been cool. But I think the next big thing I'm going to do, I haven't figured it out yet, and I've been trying to figure that out for a few years now, to be honest with you. And the way I've been figuring that out is I've been talking to other, I would say, high-level business people that I respect about maybe doing something with them. Not knowing what specifically that's going to be, but just knowing that when you put two good people together, good things happen, and trying to figure out what that business is. And we've talked about, not just with one person, but a couple of different people, we've talked about different businesses outside of real estate, inside of real estate. But I keep coming back to real estate. It's what I know. It's what I'm good at. I do have a passion for certain aspects of it. I really do like the development side of things. The ego side of me is like, I should do a high rise. And then the business side of me is like, why do I want to do something like that? Like it's
a hell of an elevator bill to pay on a monthly basis to maintain them.
Right.
Holy shit.
I found a pretty good niche with what I do mostly. 10 to 40 unit buildings is what I've been building for a while. Multifamily, mixed use buildings. It's they're usually at price points that I'm able to do without having to go out and raise money. They're manageable where it doesn't take me 5 years to build them usually, although I have done some bigger things that have taken me longer than I would like. But I found a pretty good niche. I'm like one of the bigger small guys. So I'm not competing with the big guys doing big stuff, but I'm able to sort of do some like bigger small projects, which I like. I don't know, just kind of keep creating new things. Passive income is a thing that I've been building for a very long time. My goal was when my kids go to college to have enough passive income to cover all my expenses so I can travel more. Yep. So my oldest daughter's going to college next year, and then I have two more that are 2 years away. So, I want to do more traveling. That's definitely going to be in the cards, do more traveling.
They're out of college. You want to go see them.
Go see them. Yeah. And probably just keep developing properties, adding to my portfolio, building the passive income, and hopefully like every once in a while do something like pretty cool where I try to be proud of my projects. Yeah. The early stuff that I did early on in my career where we only focused on the inside of the house, and the insides were always beautiful. We always did nice interiors, but I didn't pay that much attention to the outside of the house. And I drive by some of these stucco bayfront that I used to do like 15 years ago, and I'm like, I don't even want to tell people I built them. No. But now the stuff that I built, I feel like it's really nice. It's beautiful, like because I care about the outside, and it costs a lot of money to build, the exteriors the way you want.
We won't
but
do stucco. We won't.
Nobody. I haven't done it in 10 years. But now I'm proud of the stuff that I do on the outside and the inside, and I want to just keep doing stuff like that I'm proud of and that I think are like cool things.
That's awesome. Well, no, I can't thank you enough for spending some time today, being on the show, for value you provide to listeners. Looking forward to seeing what's next. So where can people find you? Like where are you on Instagram? Like where can I see the races you're prepping for and stuff?
Yeah, Instagram at Noah Ostroff.
Okay.
If anybody wants to email me, you can noah@phillyliving.com.
Perfect.
But yeah, check me out on Instagram. That's where I'm at.
Awesome. Thanks, Noah.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was awesome.
Cool.